Welcome back to Two in the Process. Today we're going to take a look at the requirements for modern process monitoring software. I'm Yves, and as always, Udo is sitting next to me.
Hello everyone. We often talk about hardware or sensors, but this time we're going to talk about what ultimately holds everything together, software.
Exactly. And in the field, we constantly hear things like, we already have data. But when you ask, what exactly do you do with it, things usually get pretty quiet, or in the worst case, there's an Excel spreadsheet somewhere on the desktop.
That's right. I once had a case that was really great, technically fully equipped, systems with sensors up to the ceiling, temperature, electricity, tightness, the whole program. And then the data was just there. But in the end, it was still just gut feeling that decided, because there was simply no software to make sense of it. No one could evaluate it meaningfully. The data was wasted.
And that's the issue. Just because the figures are in the system doesn't mean I have a real understanding of the process. It's not enough to collect data. You have to find it, evaluate it, understand it, and somehow process it all in such a way that you can see immediately, is it working or not?
That's right. So the next step for companies would really be to move away from gut feelings and toward real, usable information. And that means on a daily basis in the business, not theoretically on paper.
Absolutely. It sounds so obvious, but it's exactly the hurdle that keeps causing problems in practice.
And that brings us straight to the next sticking point, system architecture. I think this is where it gets abstract for many people, but honestly, this is where the turbo for modern process monitoring lies. The old systems, everything in one computer, no scaling. Usually all it takes is a second user and the whole thing suddenly slows down to a crawl.
And modern software does exactly the opposite. The front end, what you see, is separated from the back end, the actual data processing. It sounds like technical gibberish at first, but it's a blessing for production practice. Everyone can do something at the same time without anything crashing.
Yes, and it's not just practical. I mean, one person looks at the live data, another searches for any errors from last week, and the next person configures the system in parallel. No one blocks anyone else. Everything runs separately. And honestly, that saves a lot of hassle, especially when things get really hectic.
I remember a case where it wasn't about adding more production lines, but about bringing additional department into the system. Quality assurance suddenly wanted to run its own evaluations. Maintenance needed access to live data. In the past, that would have meant additional installations, chaos with permissions, and system utilization at its limit.
With modern architecture, things are very different. The departments get their own front end, everyone sees only what they need, and that's it. No additional computers, no software confusion, no export blockages, just because a colleague is working in parallel.
This has really made a difference internally. Suddenly, everyone is talking about the same data. No more screenshots via email and no more waiting for others to finish. And another thing, something that is often completely underestimated, the interaction with external sensors.
Many systems are completely fixed in this regard. They process exactly one signal and that's it. If you suddenly want to integrate a pyrometer, a displacement sensor, or any analog signal, you're stuck because there's no interface or the software doesn't know what to do with the data.
And yet there's real potential there, especially in more complex processes. The more information you have and the better it is evaluated together, the clearer it becomes what is actually happening in the process.
Modern software can do that. Simply integrate external sources, synchronize them, and evaluate them without needing half an IT team. And that's exactly what makes the difference. No longer just individual opinions per sensor, but an overall picture. Anyone who still relies on a centralized, monolithic solution today will face their first scaling problem tomorrow, or the software will crash because it can no longer cope with the amount of data or lacks interfaces to additional sensors.
And speaking of which, what good is the best system if no one uses it because the interface looks like it's from the last millennium? Many people still laugh at the topic of UI.
I've seen systems where you really have to fight your way through a jungle of menus, 10 clicks for a single piece of information. No wonder people overlook error messages.
Exactly. I always say less is more, as long as the important information is immediately visible. The system has to show the right information for the operator, for QA staff, for management, but it doesn't make sense if everyone has to click through 100 levels to find what they need for their role.
And it has to be live. The days of seeing what happened 5 minutes ago are over. If scrap is being produced right now, I want to know about it now, not tomorrow. And I think role-specific dashboards that anyone can set up are worth their weight in gold.
And many features that are urgently needed today are often not even included in older systems. Adjustable, customizable dashboards, live data, really simple user interfaces. No one needs a degree in computer science to use them.
What would you say are the features that our listeners really need, in your opinion? Well, honestly, for the people on the line, in quality assurance, for management?
Good question. For the operator, perhaps clear status displays, alarms that are easy to understand, so that they can see at a glance whether everything is okay or attention check. Management, clear reports, identifying trends. I mean, I could be wrong, but what good is a system that only experts can use?
I agree, and I think we're in agreement here. Without acceptance and usability, even the best system is useless. Ultimately, it has to work every day under production pressure, and people will decide whether they like using it or not.
I'd say that brings us to the end for today. If you have any feedback, please write to us. You know the show notes. Udo, thank you as always. It was entertaining again.
Thank you, Yves, and thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. We'll hear you next time, and don't forget, stay curious.
See you soon. Take care and produce quality always.